Hey everybody, Who's Your Jedi here with another review for you. It's time to talk episode 3 of season 3 of Star Wars Rebels called the Antilles Extraction. And this is a pretty simple and straightforward episode, but it's a reasonably nice episode. Sorry this review is going up so late. Basically, this episode aired the day I moved, so since then, obviously, I've been focused on things like getting my driver's license because I moved to a different state, so I've got to get my driver's license sorted. Been doing some stuff, looking for a new job, and dealing with various other issues that always seem to happen when you move. But anyway, I have some free time right now, so I'm going to take care of this review. Now, one thing I really like about this episode is that it kind of goes back to something that was briefly mentioned in past episodes, that Sabine had been an Imperial cadet before she joined the Rebels. And also, it's kind of been a while since we had a nice Sabine spotlight episode. She's kind of been a little bit too in the background, if you ask me, recently. And I'm kind of glad this is a chance to really let her show her stuff. And I also like how Ezra brings up, the not unreasonable argument, like, hey, going undercover as a cadet, I've done that before. Why don't I do this? And they point out, well, you're pretty well known by the Empire right now. They'd probably spot you very quickly. Sabine is the person that's the least well known. Yeah, that makes sense. She's usually wearing a helmet that hides her face. So we also get to see what I'm assuming is probably her natural hair color with black hair. Also kind of nice to sort of get that cleared up. And there's other little things in here. Like if you pay attention, you'll notice that there are also other female cadets there at the Sky Striker Academy, which I love that name just because when I think hear the word Sky Strikers, that reminds me of the airplanes from the old 1980s G.I. Joe cartoon, which were called Sky Strikers. And of course, this episode introduces us to Wedge Antilles, a very important character in the Star Wars mythos, and explains how he came to be part of the rebellion. And it also introduces us to, I never remember this guy's name, Derek Hobie Kilvey, who, if I remember right, is probably best known in the old expanded universe from the X-Wing series of novels. I could be wrong about that. X-Wing, I've only ever really read one of those. I can't even remember which one of those it was, but it was really, really good. And I know one of my friends in college was a huge, huge fan of the X-Wing series of books. So it's definitely nice to sort of see, and he wasn't an expanded universe character. This was an actual character from the movies, but they sort of just took a really, really minor guy and really fleshed him out in the old expanded universe. So ultimately, at the end of the day, the rebellion, which is desperate for pilots, gets 2 new pilots who haven't even finished proper training. So I'm sure that's going to be of enormous help. But Wedge is as I said, he's an important guy. So we can kind of let this slide. It also gives us the chance to sort of let Sabine sort of strut her stuff and show that even though she's kind of been in the background for a while, she's lost none of her step, and she's someone who is an extremely formidable person, especially for somebody who's so young. She's probably still she should still be in her teens. She's probably only, if I remember right, maybe 18 years old, somewhere in that neighborhood. I can't quite recall off the top of my head. 17, 18, somewhere. We also get some nice moments with Agent Callus paying Zeb back for helping to save his life, which a nice moment for him. We also get to see a little bit more of Price and show that she's nobody to be underestimated. I mean, she actually does pretty well against Sabine, who is a trained Mandalorian warrior. And even Sabine acknowledges, like, hey, you're pretty good. I mean, Sabine does ultimately win the fight, but good there. Which is kind of another example of them definitely sort of showing, like, yeah, women were just as big in the Empire as the guys were. In the old expanded universe, they kind of played up the idea that the Emperor was sort of playing to sexist attitudes within the core worlds, and that's why females were usually not seen in high Imperial ranks. Here, that's been thrown out. We've got other characters like Rhea Sloane, big character in the novels. In fact, if I remember correctly, she was introduced in A New Dawn, which is where they started the whole new expanded universe where they explained how Cain and Hera came to start working together, and then things have been followed up with her in books set after the events of Return of the Jedi, Aftermath series, which I've not really been following. I read like third of the first one of those, and I wasn't really grabbed by it. But anyway, back to this episode. Um, so basically, yeah, this is sort of just a chance to sort of you have a Sabine episode to let her show her stuff. I guess this Scaris fellow is probably going to be somebody we'll be seeing again, and just to sort of flesh out a little bit more about exactly where things are going with the rebellion and with the Empire at this point in time. Now, whether or not Hobie and Wedge end up coming back, well, it certainly wouldn't surprise me. But, at the end of the day, this is a very simple story that, it's just sort of it's a setup episode. I mean, it's a good setup episode, but that's what it is. The story is very simple. Some things happen that will probably be important later on, but as a whole, the story itself is not hugely memorable. It's an enjoyable episode, but not one that to me really, really stands out as being super strong. But we'll see how things go. And yeah, I think that kind of covers everything I had to say about this episode. So we're going to call it here. As always, please comment, rate, and subscribe. And of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Who's Your Jedi, and also please join me on Tumblr at Jedi Reviewer. Until next time, take care and have a good one.